You are comfortably zoned in San Francisco, California. A rare treat for the old guy getting off the island of Alameda, coming into the city to meet Tuesday Thomas, the comedian that everybody in San Francisco is talking. She's up and coming, originally from New Mexico.
No, New York. New York City. New Mexico, they make the salsa. New York City, we don't.
What part of New York City are you from?
Manhattan.
I'm from Queens. Wonderful.
Yeah. Astoria?
Jackson Heights.
Yeah.
Yeah, good place to be from, huh?
Scary subway stop.
My parents moved. I was born into Lexington Avenue and 28th Street. Moved when I was in kindergarten. Moved to Queens and Jackson Heights.
Oh.
And where did you go to school in New York?
We went in Manhattan.
In Manhattan.
Yeah, in Manhattan. That's why when people say you don't have an accent, I said that's because I'm educated.
Yeah, well, I have one. That's because I'm uneducated. I'm, or as Dr. John would say, uneducated. Educated.
I got my education.
Education. So we've got that in common. We also have in common that we are fellow podcasters. You've got a station that you are programming for a little bit. You want to tell us about that?
That's ourcityradio.com. It's Our City Radio, San Francisco Our City Radio.
Not just our, but our.
Yeah.
You don't have an accent. No, not at all.
Not at all. San Francisco Our City Radio.
Right,
.com/ now you made me forget. .com/ comedy channel.
Right, and I'm the smoker, and you're the straight person, and you forget, and you're blonde. Yeah. Well, for the stereotypical blonde, you ain't that. You're very bright. You helped me a lot with the computer today, and I'm very appreciative of that.
I'm ditzy. I'm not dumb.
Well, you know what?
There's a difference.
Ditzy is almost an intentional thing, where dumb you can't teach.
Yeah, you can't fix stupid.
Right. What's the best thing you got out of growing up in New York?
It prepared me for anything in the world. Seriously.
Right.
When you're growing up, you think that the place you live in, that the whole world is like that, and when you grow up, and it was a rough time then. It was crime, and I saw a dead body when I was very, very young on the street. You think the whole world's like that. So when you go out into other cities and other places, you see that it's not quite like that at all, that it's different, and it might be a little better. It might be better or different, but any situation that's thrown at me, I know I can deal with.
Right. Flexibility.
Yeah.
What'd your parents do? You said your mom was a depression
My mom was
kid?
a depression baby. She was a stay-at-home mom. My dad was a long-haul trucker.
Oh.
Yeah, so, he wasn't home around a lot. Actually, he was my stepfather, and he adopted us when we were little, because my real dad, that's why I'm a comedian, I got daddy issues.
My real dad
left when I was like 4, I think.
Yeah.
So, there's that's my damage,
we have a lot
among
in
other
common.
things.
My father didn't actually leave, but he'd go away to travel for business for long periods of time. And so it's always that feeling of powerlessness when you're a kid, which is horrible. And any kind of an abandoned thing sticks with you. And you'll find that most comedians, we're all a little bit neurotic. Some of us were a little more.
I mean, I've been called neurotic my whole life. I still don't know what that means.
Well,
I know it's not the same as erotic, though.
No, but you could be both.
Trust me. Trust me. The way I found out, that was the weirdest 20 minutes of my life.
I'm just thinking about that. My imagination, and I do have a good imagination.
Yeah. I still contact that guy like 3 or 4 times a year to try to get the restraining order lifted, but I still contact him.
You can't get that lifted. You have to go down and file other police reports, which puts you in jeopardy. Did you lie to us at the beginning? Well, no. It was just one of those moments, Your Honor. Life is about going from one restraining order to another sometimes. And so, how do you like California, and how'd you have the guts to move out here?
Oh, I've lived a lot of places. I mean, even though I grew up in New York, I was sent out. I was in San Francisco in like 79, 80, 81. I was sent out here because I was such a problem child that I had an aunt and uncle. My mother's Sicilian, and she had an aunt and uncle. It's my great aunt and uncle who lived out here. And
so what you're saying, basically, you're in the witness protection
pretty
program.
much.
All right.
But they sent me out here to live with them because they were very religious people.
Oh, really?
But what they didn't think of was if I'm climbing out of the fire escape on a 4th floor walk-up, I'm living now with people who are living on the ground floor who are very much older, which means that they have a couple drinks and are in bed by 7 o'clock at night.
Oh, wow.
All I have to do is go out a ground floor window. Hey,
right.
You know, I had a
step
made. It was a step up.
By having a step down.
Yeah.
That,
So I was out here then and always wanted to come back.
Right,
Yeah.
and you moved from San Francisco and then moved around the country a little bit?
I went back to New York, and then I've been in LA, I've been in Seattle. I was married for way too long and lived in Las Vegas.
Right.
And
what's Vegas like? I have a buddy named Rocky who's Rocky Grunner. Are you out there? You're taking your daughter Jessie to Las Vegas to live. What's it like from your standpoint?
I like the weather. You can't really... You can make money there, or at least when I was there you could. I left right when the bubble burst. I got out before it went rock bottom. I mean, houses were starting to get foreclosed, but I mean, it got really bad there. The main thing is let me put it this way. I lived there for 8 or 9 years, I think it was. In every other city I've lived in, there's at least 1 or 2 people that I still keep in contact with that I made friends with.
Right.
Not one from there. Everybody I met, I didn't ever have anybody over to my house. I couldn't trust them. There's 24-hour drugs, gambling, alcohol. The meth problem is out of control there.
Whoa, and I thought it was much more conservative and much more staid.
Well, the reason why everybody thinks it's conservative and staid is because of the fact that the corporations have the power, so therefore Republicans from that area get voted in, and the people there are just there to make their money. They don't really care politically because they know the corporations that own all the casinos have it wrapped up.
Right. Now, you're not into weed. What's the weed situation like down there? Do you have any idea?
I'm sure it's the same as... I knew people got high. I think the bigger thing was the meth issue.
Okay, that's not my thing. Anything with the white powder, anything that makes you speed, that's not good.
Yeah, but this is... it's like the Night of the Living Dead, these people. They're... if you believe in the Bible, which I don't, but I'm well read in it and many other religions. It's kind of like the apocalypse where they said the dead, will walk the earth. That's what they look like, the meth heads.
Really?
And the casinos don't want anything done to it because when there's a certain OCD pattern that meth heads have. So what they're doing is they're putting money into the slot machines and they're hitting the buttons over and over again. And I have watched people win like $1,000, but because of the meth, they just keep hitting the buttons and hitting the buttons.
Giving it back.
Right, so the casinos turn a blind eye to it. You could drive down the road and rear-end a car and blow up because there's rolling meth labs in trunks of cars.
Whoa.
I've had friends who work in
house. It's like a Pinto in the old days.
Yeah,
I remember they had the little device in the back that they didn't want to change until Pinto. They knew about it, but they figured, what the hell? We'll just play it out, see how many claims there are. We know what the percentage are. A life, give up a few, then change it, bring the cause back, which is big business. And what I do on this show, as those who haven't heard me rant know, I go off on the Unholy Trinity, which is organized religion, big business, and the government. And they are combining to make our lives as the 99%ers miserable in every way. Agree?
I do, yeah. I can agree to that.
Can you cite something that's in your craw about either of those three? The hierarchies. We're not talking about the worshipers of the churches or synagogues or any of that. We're talking about the hierarchy of big business, where the chairman of the board makes like 450,000 times more money than the working guy who can't park his car and is in traffic jams.
I think we all hate that. I really do. I think that's a common thread among the majority of people. But what I think is the sad part of it, and what really sticks in my craw about organized religion and big business and government and all that, is that nowadays the people are so placated with their iPhones, their toys, their computers, their internet, everything, that they're walking down the street pressing buttons, and being placated. So they're so engrossed in themselves that they don't have any social skills. They don't know how to interact with other people. And by not knowing how to interact with the other human beings correctly, people can't band together. So therefore, these toys were given, and being placated like that is another way for them to stop us banding together and seeing what the real problem is. It would be like, the crack invasion of the 80s, that's what happened, is people started doing a lot of drugs and they turned a blind eye to, or they didn't turn a blind eye, they just couldn't see what the real problems were around them. And it's the same thing now. You can buy an iPhone, it's greed, it's give me that new toy, give me that new toy. Why do you think there's an new iPhone every 6 months?
Because just placating the working fool to keep his mind off being in the company store and getting up every day.
Right.
And
we're indentured servants, and it's just throwing a bone to the dog once in a while. And that's the sad thing. And until we, as people, realize it, Louis C.K. said something really that hit home to me. I think he was on Jimmy Kimmel or someplace, or Conan, I don't remember. But he was talking about how this now generation that's being brought up because of all this, when you're on the internet and you're an internet troll, you don't see the person. So you can call somebody fat on the internet. You don't see them. You don't see how they react. So you do that. But when you call somebody fat and you're sitting next to them or you see them, you see how they react. You see that. You see their eyes. So you feel bad for. You're supposed to learn how to feel bad for doing it because you could see the hurt. So that's how you learn empathy. But you can't learn empathy because nobody's interacting with each other, and they're all on the internet calling each other names and, go kill yourself and all this. They don't have empathy, and they're being brought up without empathy. And without empathy, we can't care about each other. And that's another thing. We only care about ourselves without empathy, so therefore we're going to want the toys, and we're not going to realize what they're doing to us.
Well, part of it is what we talked about before. Both our mothers were stay-at-home mothers. You don't see that anymore. So I happen to have been the stay-at-home dad for the first 5 years of my child's life. So he didn't have babysitters. But right now in the world the way it is, kids are being farmed out all over the place, and they're not getting the family values, that at least being exposed to the family values, all because of the economy, to say nothing about the economic war. So we're raising these kids on video games that recreate war, and they're more than happy to go over there and bang up somebody with a gun and, bang, 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 and shoot, shoot, shoot. It's
and that's on purpose. I mean, the lack of education, the splintering of the family, all that started. The lack of education started when Ronald Reagan started pulling away funding programs.
I'll tell you, bring that guy's name up with closing the unions by the air traffic controllers.
Let me just say that
this is new on me.
He started taking away he did a lot of things, but specifically this one thing was taking away the educational programs that he did and cutting them, which went up to Bush Sr., which Bush Jr. started to do. Lack of education, of course, equals ignorance. And then that's another way of controlling the generations coming up. And in making the economy in such a way that two people have to work to afford a living, that's taking away the parent unit away from the child, and the child's not educated in social skills, like you said. So it's all a way of controlling people.
You think it's premeditated that extent?
I do.
Okay.
I really do. I think that, there's a lot of thought that goes into things, and it's not just people. I mean, Republicans aren't stupid. People aren't stupid. The Chinese, as people, have plans for things 100 years from now. They think, well, I know that government officials think the same way. Right. That's not just we get in and it's like, what's your 4-year plan, Mr. President? Well, no, we should be asking him, what's the 100-year plan that everybody in the government has for this country?
And could there be 100 years of what they're doing to it ecologically? That's what kills me. They're killing off species, fucking with the ozone layer, this, that, and the other thing.
The Federal Reserve was started for a reason, to get us to this point eventually, to control our money and to make us all indentured servants and to make us all a piece of chattel to be owned. Well, I mean, that wasn't just, the banks failed and we need to do something. There was a lot of thought put into that because a lot of educated people with vision backed it and ran it and owned it, and that was the beginning of the end.
But some complicity has to go to the masses because, for instance, in dealing with the banks, you put your money in, they give you 2-3% interest. You want to borrow your money, they'll gladly lend you the money for 27% interest. And people keep coming back, and they don't band together and say, wait a second, why don't we get under the table here and not make the government, if the government's going to spend our tax dollars on war and killing each other's children all over the world, why contribute? Go underground.
They need the new toys. They want the new toys. They're grown up in an environment. The newer generations don't know anything but, the internet and a new toy and me, and no empathy. So they don't care, and that's what was created. I mean, we can talk all we want about why don't people band together. The reason people don't band together now is because of what I just said, and it's not going to happen for a long time. I think there might be a revolution in the future, but as far as the total change that we need and people banding together and being humanitarians to one another again, that's going to be a very long time, because the corporations and the governments and people have been complicit too in creating this environment of, I want the new toy, I want this, I me, I don't care, and isolating themselves from people. Right. It used to be you'd walk down, when I was growing up, we'd walk down the street and talk to people as we passed them. I can't walk down the street without somebody bumping into me while they're texting on their cell phone and not even look up and say excuse me to me.
Right.
They don't care. They're like, they're probably thinking, that bitch got in my way. No, you weren't paying attention. You were in my way. You bumped into me. Proper words are excuse me. I never hear those two words. I never hear those two words anymore. Pardon me or excuse me.
The words I don't hear, I was wrong.
Yeah, that too.
Right? People will back up. Not just politicians, but people make mistakes. They can't go, I fucked up. I made a mistake.
Well,
you don't hear that.
They won't.
And that's kind of sad. Hey, thanks for being on, huh?
Hey, thanks for having me.
You're terrific. This proves to the world a little bit that the smartest people, as far as I'm concerned, I did comedy on the road for 8-9 years altogether back in the 80s and the 90s, and I got to meet a lot of comedians and comedians back then, and it's the same now. The smart people that see the world in a kind of a twisted way, and because of the way it is, a twisted way, they're the ones getting it out. I never met a stupid comedian. Anybody who has the guts to get up on stage and say what they prepare, some thought went into that, because your first instinct is, geez, don't put me up in front of people, it's so scary. You better have something to say somewhere. You better believe you have something to say at least. And you're no exception. You're terrific. I very much appreciate you being on the show, and we're going to make a nice slideshow for YouTube out of this. This is Slideshow Radio, comfortably zoned.
And can I tell where I'm going to be?
Oh, absolutely. Excuse me. Yeah, you take the mic for a while and talk about whatever you want to talk about.
Well, I just want to plug that I'm going to be next Thursday, the 21st, at Mallow Lounge in Silver Lake in LA. I go down to LA a lot, so if you're down in LA, look for Tuesday. I'm usually at Mallow Lounge at La Leche on Thursdays, or I'm at the Comedy Store on the weekend. But majority of the time I am up here in San Francisco. I have the show the night before Thanksgiving at Cobb's with the incomparable Sammy Obeid. I'll be opening for him. And you can contact me through TuesdayThomas.com if you want a discount ticket to that show the night before Thanksgiving, because I have a guest list that can get discounted tickets, and I'd love to have you come. And thank you, Ralph.
Beautiful, thank you. And listening audience out there, I want you to keep your dreams wet and your humor dry. Keep your kids away from recruiting stations, at military recruiting stations, and keep your kids off the laps of clerics who wear dresses. It's going to work out much better for the whole family and future generations if you do that.
Yeah, the mafia and drag. That's what the Catholic Church is, the mafia and drag.
Absolutely, except they combine, instead of combining the good parts of the mafia, their creativity, or you would think something coming from a rabbi who has nice teachings, Jesus, if he was mythological or not, I don't know. Whatever he wasn't as portrayed in the magic show that goes on in people's heads. And I'm sad about that too, because the religions, the major religions, don't seem to be coming together. And as long as they have all three, Jerusalem, all three major religions think that that's their place to be, I don't think things are going to go well for a while over there.
No. I don't think so either.
All right.
Yeah, that's all I have to say. I'm just disgusted.
Hey, I hate to. Sometimes just telling people makes the portrayer of the bad news. It's like, who was it? Don't shoot the messenger.
Yeah, don't kill the messenger.
Don't kill the messenger. Don't kill us. Thank you. Keep us alive for a while.
If you do try to kill me, just don't do it. Just save my face. Save my face.
Right, and if you try to kill me, just remember it'll be peace at last for me. So you're not really hurt. What can you do to me at this point?
Right.
I've already, the good die young. I'm way beyond that. Way beyond the good. I'm way beyond the good, and I'm way beyond the young. Hey, over and out. Thanks, everybody. Have a great one. Thanks again, Wendy. Tuesday.
Yeah, you're very welcome.
Wendy Thomas was another beautiful woman. See you later.